Hey y'all, I'm Krystal from the YouTube channel Krystal's Texas Garden, and I am absolutely thrilled to be with you guys today. I'd like to thank Jim and Jessica for putting this summit together and getting such an amazing group of gardeners and homesteaders alike together. And I am absolutely honored to be able to share with you guys today alongside some really amazing people. You see these sweet potatoes behind me? Would you believe me if I told you that I have never fertilized them? So this right here, all the way down, as far as you can see back there, is purple sweet potatoes. All of this is all purple sweet potatoes. A sea of sweet potato greens. Would you believe me if I told you that I haven't watered my sweet potatoes since they were teeny tiny little slips? So this plant right here is a Thai purple eggplant. And there is one of the fruits right there. They do get about double that size. And would you believe me if I told you that throughout my garden, I don't use any pesticides, and you'll find very little pest damage in my garden? Now the row that the sweet potatoes are starting to encroach on are my long beans. And here are some baby long beans right here. These guys will actually be ready to harvest out in the next 2 days. The way that I have them planted out, they're all at various stages of maturity. So my gardening style is a little bit different than most people. I have done lots of experiments in my garden. Some were successful and many were not. Now we're coming to a plant that has been here since March. It has given me tons and tons of fruit, but ultimately it's going to be coming out tomorrow. It has reached the end of its life cycle. But like I said, this Zucchinio rampicante has given me tons and tons of beautiful, delicious fruit. The way I choose to garden is more of a natural method. I don't adhere to organic standards. I just try to do everything as natural as possible. I've spent a lot of time building up my soil, feeding my soil so that my soil can feed the plants, so I don't have to worry about feeding the plants, and then the plants feed us. The area that we're moving into now is my loofah area. And don't mind all the buzzing all around you. That is honeybees and wasps. They're all doing their jobs to pollinate all of these plants. I rely on a deep mulch method of gardening called the Ruth Stout method. I actually use hay in my garden. The deep mulch method of gardening is the exact style of gardening that they practice in the Back to Eden method. The only difference is they use wood chips. So check out how tall these chili pepper plants are. They're over 4 foot tall, and they're giving us beautiful, big chili peppers. So right now we're in August, and we're actually transitioning the garden from our spring and summer crops into our fall crops. Now we're coming into the kukutsi squash area. And let me show you one of these guys. They're so cool. Check this one out. This one vegetable serves my family one meal. And as you can see, our plants are totally loaded. One of my favorite things about this plant is how soft and velvety these leaves are. They're really quite fabulous. And these young tips are totally edible. Now that's just a little bit of what I've got going on here in the garden. Like I said, we're transitioning out a lot of plants, and I have some baby seedlings that are actually getting ready to come out here in the next week or so. But I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about how I garden. Now in my garden, I use a deep mulch method. All we simply do is put a very thick layer of mulch on the ground and walk away. So what does that do for our gardens? One, it retains moisture. The only time that I actually water my plants is when they're either seeds in the ground or very young seedlings or slips in the sweet potatoes case. Now in my garden, I use hay. I am surrounded by hay farms. Hay is very cheap for me to buy, and it works very, very well. Two, as the hay breaks down, it actually then starts to feed the soil, feeding those beneficial bugs like earthworms, beneficial bacteria. And as your hay breaks down and it's feeding all of these wonderful microorganisms, they're all working in unison to condition your soil and turn it from dead dirt to a living organism called soil. And three, it suppresses weeds. As long as you keep it thick, it'll suppress the weeds. If you let it thin down, the weeds will pop through. So here's a fun little fact about my garden. I don't fertilize past the seedling stage. And even at that time, I give them very, 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 very teeny tiny amounts of any type of fertilizer. And my fertilizer of choice is blood meal and fish bone meal. Again, very, very natural products. I actually rely on my hay to feed my plants all throughout their growth season. Now you've probably heard of compost tea, and that's where you take compost and you soak it in water and then you water your plants with that tea. So between my soil line and my dry hay line, there is an area of this very gross and slimy, sludgy hay. And that's what I like to call my compost tea sludge. That compost tea sludge is actually what I rely on to feed my plants. And as you can see from the sweet potatoes, it does a pretty good job. 4, the hay keeps the roots of the plants really, really cool during our extremely hot and humid summers here in Southeast Texas. And when you have roots that are very, very cool, they work more efficiently to feed the plants and keep my plants very, very healthy. And because my plants are healthy and strong, I don't worry about pests. Actually, my garden is completely natural and I don't use any pesticides at all. And in my garden, I have beneficial bugs and I have bad bugs. And because I don't use pesticides that would kill everything off, the beneficial bugs help to keep my bad bug population to a minimum. And if ever I have an issue with a lot of bad bugs, then I just simply use an insecticidal soap and spot treat that area. And because I don't use any pesticides, I have lots of lizards. Lizards eat bugs. But if your plants are healthy from the roots up, they actually create their own defense system against bugs. Now, you'll look in my sweet potatoes or on my bean plants or on any of my squash or loofahs, and you will see bug damage. I mean, it happens. They'll go and take a bite out of it. But a healthy plant can actually create a defense system that actually makes them taste bad. So the bug takes a bite and says, ooh, I don't want that. Instead of taking a bite and taking another bite and taking another bite and then inviting all of his buddies over to take a bite, he simply goes over to another leaf, takes another bite. No big deal. The plant can actually heal from a bite here, a bite there. And eventually, the bad bugs get eaten by all the good bugs. Or lizards. We have lots of lizards out here. So by choosing not to use pesticides and choosing the more natural method of using deep mulch in my garden, I've actually created its own ecosystem out here. I've created a place that can sustain itself, and life out here coexists with each other on a very harmonious basis. And y'all, we couldn't forget about these guys. These guys also help with pest control, and they make great fertilizer. Hey. Y'all, thank you for joining me in the garden. I hope that you were able to learn something, and I hope that it inspires you for your next gardening project. And until we talk again, y'all be blessed. Bye now.